So I'm Ruth Findlay. I am the creator of Only Healing Minerals, and I have 4 pugs. They are, by my husband, fondly known as our guinea pugs because they are the recipient of everything that I do. About 2017, I had been sick. I was getting well, but not healthy. And I started going to mineral baths, as Poppy said. And we traveled a lot to them. And in one of my slides, I show this picture of a wading pool that we were biking. And so I had on shorts and took my shoes off and waded through this pool and felt the minerals into my legs the very first time. And I thought, I have got to come back here. So we canceled our other reservations, went back to this hotel where this, spa town was, and we spent the weekend there. And I had finally felt that I would be healthy again. And so we did that. We went a couple times that year, and then we started traveling to Saratoga Springs, New York, which is a little bit different geology, but we did that for a couple years. And one day I woke up and was making coffee. I thought, I can make this. I don't have to keep traveling to this capacity. So I bought a coffee bean grinder, and a Bodum coffee bean grinder, and some soft rocks. And I started dabbling into the crystal world a little bit, rock shopping, that kind of thing. I think that the minerals were driving me that direction. And I had not been interested in them before, even though I'd spent years as a geochemist. And so I started kind of researching what was soft enough for my little coffee bean grinder to grind up, and ended up with rhodochrosite, which is a pink rock. I ended up with blue calcite, which is a calcium carbonate, biotite, some other things, and started grinding them up and mixing them together for my baths. And so my practitioner in Oregon is German, and he practices Chinese medicine, but he's German. And so I started taking it to him, and it's like, I just can't even believe this is happening to me. He said, I've been buying bath products everywhere. And he said that he had bought some black something in Czechoslovakia. It had ruined his bathtub. He had replaced the bathtub. And we had never had a conversation about baths before. And so he really got into this and encouraged me to keep doing it. Then I started pulling lists of the geology, the chemistry in these waters, and trying to match them on percentages. And that was really an interesting kind of thing because it's hard. You don't really know, what else is happening with the rock in the water. So I rocked on down the road, and I hate this. I don't have my favorite picture, but I have a picture of a small, about a quarter size hematite heart that I'd put in my pocket to collect EMF, block EMF. And I wasn't really even sure it was working, but I sure did like the rock. So I kept it in my pocket. And after 3 months, I noticed that it was deeply pitted. And hematite is iron ore. And I couldn't even believe what was happening to my rock. And we all discussed it, and I thought, this is just really weird. I think my body's absorbing this. And interestingly, on my 6-month MD visit, they ran labs, and my iron stores had been so poor, and they had normalized. And that's almost unheard of, actually, as everyone knows who's ever tried to build their iron up, because it's just unheard of. But it was an amazing epiphany, is that this hardstone was in my pocket, and my body was absorbing it, and it didn't need to be powder. It was absorbing it through my pocket and into my skin. So it was the first moment I realized that when the body wants something, it's going to take it, and it will do anything to take it. And if you make it super easy, the body doesn't have to work so hard. I didn't make it really super easy with the rock in my pocket, but it worked. And I feel like that all of us have at one time or another bought a nice little beaded bracelet or a brooch or a pendant that is of natural stone. And we have thought, oh, wow, it's lost its color. It's lost its sheen. Maybe it was not real. It was real. What was happening is you bought it because you were intuitively buying a rock that you needed and your body absorbed it. And so it could have changed shape. Like I've lost, like a faceted bead. It loses its facets. It loses its color. Your body's absorbing those. And it's an amazing thing to think about that that's happening. So on into the story, I finally got a real grinder and started getting into more rocks and things that I couldn't do with the coffee bean grinder. And I started getting a little more sophisticated with my topical idea because I felt like that was really easy to do. In my slideshow, I have a picture in 2018 of my dog Oscar, who's now over 16, and his back was, all of his lower vertebrae were totally degenerating. And Oscar just one day stopped walking. And so I quickly used my powders and made joint healing products. I had 2 or 3 that I decided that he needed. And he started walking. He's been walking ever since. And those were life-ending x-rays. And it was not really very attractive, but he is the one that I had to jump up and get a minute ago. He's very vocal. He had acupuncture today. He loves his powders and he chooses them himself. Dogs can feel the vibration of the mineral powder on the nose, and they choose them very readily, what they need for that particular day. So then we locked down and I started studying what I was actually doing, because as a scientist, I loved the metaphysical. I loved the folklore. I loved the Chinese medicine, but there was some other entity going on in this world of mine that I had to figure out. And it's the chemistry of each one, the trace elements. And so as I studied each rock, what it was lured to do, folklore, traditional Chinese medicine, I discovered more and more about it. I could link up Western medical studies to those micronutrients and combine it all and have an educated guess as to what would work for a particular issue. And I worked on this pretty diligently since we had so much time. And then I applied for a patent, which I got last year, and about manganese. So manganese is my baby. Manganese actually cofactors a lot of enzymes. It's in charge of prolidase, which is the enzyme for collagen and many other proteins in the body that we could go into later. And but without manganese in the system, these things do not convert. They pool, they flush out, they don't work. So your protein levels or usable hydroxyproline are very important. They're important in animals also. Manganese also is the cofactor for superoxide dismutase, which is SOD enzyme, which is the best thing to clear oxidative stress. Keeps you in check, keeps your immune system in check. It's a lot of things that are important to us on the autoimmune factors. Then the kind of unknown one is that manganese fires interferon. Interferon fires when you have a virus, namely the last big virus that keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. So after one of those big cytokine storms, your manganese store is probably very low to 0, which means now you're not having enough to do clear oxidative stress, convert your collagen for your next big interferon storm. So that's a big problem, is the lack of manganese. There's several others. There's copper, natural copper. There's zinc. We know all these. I focus on all of the major micronutrients in our formulas. They are interestingly work together and some work separately, but they are very important together. In my presentation, I like to talk about altered micronutrients versus natural. And I have, in a recent application for another patent, I have actually defined natural as a rock, and the only processing that we can do to that rock is reduce it to powder without heat, and otherwise it is altered. Because once you add anything to it to make it more absorbable, it loses its ability to do what it's supposed to do, whether it's cofactor or these other things that these micronutrients do. So we look at studies about neurodegenerative illnesses in humans, and we have looked at the postmortem plaques in brains, and we find manganese, iron, copper, zinc. We find these, and so the panic is that the heavy metal load is causing the plaques, causing neurodegenerative, etc. Well, I believe that the altered minerals, anything that's been changed other than a rock, become unusable, but sadly, they're recognizable to the body. So the body absorbs them where they're supposed to be being used, and because they're a former shell of themselves, they just sit there. There's no cofactor, there's no anything that these things do. So the brain in the plaques, in the nervous system, has absorbed these things that become doorstops. So why is that important? Well, it's important because I also believe that if you use natural minerals reduced from rock to powder in a way, the nervous system can heal, the nervous system can operate, the immune system can operate, the proteins in your body, collagen, amyloid protein, all of these things can convert and be usable. And when all of that happens, the body becomes a perfect machine that it is, and it will detox these things from the system. We are going to have virus, we are going to have toxin, but if we are taking in unusable micronutrients, we are going to be sicker than we were without them. I think in the nervous system, if you will add real copper, real zinc, and real manganese all at the same time, you have this little perfect triad where the manganese is doing the protein, it's clearing the oxidative stress. The copper is the thing that conducts the toxin and heat out of the cell. The zinc is the thing that recreates the natural impulse of the cell. So it can talk to the next cell over, it can fire and move and communicate. So if you will put these things in a perfect scenario, a perfect triad into the nervous system, the immune system, the body will start acting like it's supposed to and responding like it's supposed to. But if we don't do this and we add collagen peptides into our system and we have more and more virus, we will be quickly into autoimmune, quickly into neurodegenerative. And I feel like it's getting ready to be explosive in our culture because we are not doing that, and we are doing the other, and we are not seeing these viruses let up. We already have a toxic overload, which I kind of feel like if you do the minerals, you can handle the toxic overload. I feel like if you can do the minerals, you can handle the viral load. And with what I do is we can then plan what we need. If you've had the virus lately, you can load your body with the micronutrients you need. If you are a little autoimmune, you can load the micronutrients leaning that way and put them into the body just like that. The other thing, and I don't want anyone, I'm going to say this in front of everyone, I am not anti other supplements, but I do promote mine and sometimes have to kind of talk not nicely about other supplements. And it's not that I'm not pro something, it's that I see a deficiency in what I do. For example, let's talk about probiotics. Probiotics are expensive, they're not expensive, they're available, they're not available. Fermented foods are hard to find, they're, sometimes don't taste well. So people struggle with the fermented food thing or the probiotics. Well, we read and read and read about the gut-brain connection. Well, the gut-brain connection is the vagus nerve. So if you will treat the vagus nerve topically with what I just said, the communication cranks back up, and it is an amazing thing for your vagus nerve to start working again. Your organs start working, your heart starts working, your lungs are healthy, your gut is talking to your brain, your cranial nerves here, your smell and your taste come back. It's an amazing thing to do to heal the nerve topically. Like the facial cranials are here, the vagus is here, it goes down, and then you can go and all of a sudden it's all working. Then you can enjoy your probiotics and you can enjoy your fermented food without being obsessed that that is what's going to cure you. So it's the things that I feel like that are left out that we need to add back in, and that is nerve healing in a way that is natural. Hippocrates spoke in his Air, Waters, and Sea that anyone living in a high mineral content area was going to be healthier because of the water, because of the air, and because of the soil. And it's not just the soil. It is about being in the water and breathing the air. And in Germany, the Germans missed their mineral water throughout the city. So if you're in a spa town, you'll see people sitting along a bench and these misting facilities, and they just breathe it, and it's wonderful. And so you can put my minerals actually into water, into a diffuser, and diffuse the room, and which is kind of nice for the pets because then you're hitting all of them at one time. But we've done that. We put it into the air, but to note that it's the way nature made it. Nature made us to be in water. Nature made us to do these things. And I know that a lot of people have bought homes without bathtubs. And I know that the trend is to go to a shower. And I know that that becomes a problem. And so what we did is originally, I made little mist bottles where you put the water and the minerals and shake and mist. Well, that didn't work because they clogged. So then I discovered you could use our minerals in aloe vera gel. This is our immunology blend mixed in aloe vera gel in a little plastic bottle, which you can buy glass if you like. But in aloe vera gel, the mineral powder suspends evenly and stays suspended, so you can put it on your full body every day. You can do 2 different blends every day, but it travels well. Here's my little travel immunology. I keep one in my purse in case I'm exposed to boost my immune system. But we are turning around a lot of neurodegenerative diseases with just this topical application of minerals. And I think that to be able to see that you can do this without a bathtub is nice. Although I am a bath taker, I'm going to say that. I love a bath. I've cured myself with a bath also. But that's a nice little thing. So when we're all talking about baths, know that it's still doable. We have minerals that can go right into the forehead. They go in and they fire the neurotransmitters higher and faster. They help the brain find new neural pathways. Why? Because the brain's working again. The protein in the brain is converting and the plasticity is coming back. The neuronal immune system is working. The zinc helps it talk. All of those things start happening. We have joint products that go directly into the joint, reduce the inflammation, let the nervous system pass through the joint again if it's damaged. It's not perfect. I am not going to say that my dog Oscar at 17 is a puppy, but he is alive and playing with the younger dogs. And I think that that is a benefit that we all want, because we want them to be healthy and happy as long as they're on the earth and move around. And I have had a dog in a wheelchair for 5 years. I have lived that life and I know what that is like. And so, but Oscar survived it, and I have made his bones work. Every morning he gets powdered on the back. We just sprinkle it like pepper or salt, and then we rub his joints with what he needs that day. And most likely he's picked his own joint formula for the day. And sometimes we use the brain powder right here to kind of keep him alert, although he's smarter than all of us. And with the aloe on the dogs, if they are having gut issues and you need to treat the gut, the aloe is nice. It dries really quickly. You can dose what you need onto the gut. It's a really nice thing. Which is the next little window, is that the problem with COVID in animals. So Oscar, about 2 years ago, could walk fine, but his skin went into overdrive of some sort of yeast that we have no idea what happened. My dog Jack, who's our allergy dog, went into the allergy overdrive. Frank, who is our nervous system dog, went into a rabid type of aggression. And Leo, who doesn't have hips, was just Leo. He's the only one that's not ever affected by anything. So, but he was the victim of the rabid brother. But it startled me what was happening, and it happened very quickly. And they all went down after I had, and my husband had, the Delta variant, which was, I can't remember what year. And I figured it out. And so I started making immune formulas for all of us, because I figured out that even though it wasn't presenting with the lung thing or whatever, it was a immune system issue. So we gradually built them up with these products, and they are fine. But if they are exposed, we see similar, maybe not so dramatic, symptoms. Oscar, with his yeast issue, I started making the immunology and some other products that actually built his system back up. He grew his hair back, and Frank's nervous system calmed down, and Jack's allergies are back where they were. So the COVID thing, the reason why this is important is not because of Oscar's yeast problem. What is important is this is going to lead unchecked to cancers and neurodegenerative issues in animals, because it means they have no manganese. It means that their zinc and their copper and all of these things have been burned out of their system, and they are not going to get it. And they need so much, like us, to actually replenish. So in my graphic that you cannot see, I will try to describe. I had a little feeding trough of all the manganeses eating. And I did this little hypothetical math problem that was, if we gave a point to each feeder, there are 5 of them that eat the manganese. If we give a point for each one. By the end of the year, we're at minus 12,000. If we think about what we may be able to do to get manganese, I'd say we're probably at 1,000. So we're at a big deficit, and the animals are the same way. And we, as a culture, don't have a replenishment system. We don't use the skin like we should. All of our supplements are altered, except a few. You may be able to find some of these micronutrients in the dried food industry, capsulation industry, but not, which may have worked before.
Okay,
now,
so we have some questions on the Facebook.
Okay.
So Debbie's asking,
Okay.
this is all topical, right? You're not
Yes.
offering these minerals as an oral supplementation.
Okay, I'm going to show Debbie. Debbie, are you watching? This is what it looks like. Our little tubs are this big. This is a lip balm tub, and this is a dose. This is like on my finger. Do you see that? That's how
Just lift your finger up.
I'm trying to, yeah. So
Here.
this is on my finger. It's just about a powder. It's like if you put on eyeshadow, actually. It just looks like that.
And
so that's a dose. That's how much you need.
That's a topical dose, like you put it on their head or wherever, anywhere?
Yes, yes. So it just depends. So if you're treating the full body, you just dose them with the powder. So I can salt them like a hot dog, or I can put a little bit in my hand, powder, under their belly. The body's going to take it in just like it did the rock out of my pocket. I don't have to like super rub it in. The body takes it. It feels it, it takes it. It's the most amazing thing. If you want to put it in aloe for underneath the underneath belly, it does make it a little easier. And they actually like the aloe. If you're trying to treat their vagus nerve, which we do a lot, the aloe's easy, or you can just drizzle it into their hair and kind of give it a rub in. It's very easy.
And same with cats.
Same with cats. I'm sorry. I don't like to leave the cats out, Jenny.
Don't leave the cat lovers out.
I'm not leaving them out. And I'm trying to figure out how to work it. I mean, because my labels say canine, but it needs to say and feline. And I'm trying to figure out how to do all this, because these were all for my dogs, and that's how it was. I left them out, and I apologize. But I would like to say, back to the COVID thing, that to recognize that these viruses are not letting up, and the diminishment of minerals from these viruses is very different than yesteryear. Like, yesteryear we had Diet Coke. That's no good. We had bad McDonald's hamburgers. We now have a vacuum sucking these things out of our system that we have to address, because I feel like that my acupuncture vet, he's not entirely holistic, got a call from Mississippi State, which is a vet school, and they were talking about the chronic cough that is now in the Southeast. And my vet looked at me and said, "You know what, you're right." I said, "It's going to be chronic. The cough and the skin, it's chronic, and there's nothing knocking it back in the veterinarian world," which we all know that, except every time one of us gets the COVID and brings the COVID home, they are exposed, and there goes another depletion. So it is a chronic repletion idea, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that to keep everyone healthy. Yourself, you can share these minerals. We all use the same minerals. It's very easy. You can use them for you, your dog, your cat, your horse. They're all the same.
Yeah.
All the same.
So you've partnered with a equine vet, and you're going to do some research on.
We're working on doing some testing on the amount that we need to mineralize, etc. How long it takes to actually mineralize a kind of an unkept, sadly, horse. And so hopefully we can release those stats soon, but it will be a little bit of time. So,
well, I would love to talk more with you about that and my own personal findings. So I use a lot of topical bentonite and charcoal. So I actually pull like fly spray and toxins topically off them by dusting charcoal on them
Um,
and helping them like that. And it makes a huge difference. But people don't realize that viruses bind protein, but I didn't. So all viruses, you guys, pretty much bind and block the absorption of protein. So you'll see your muscle mass diminish. But I
yes.
didn't realize it was manganese that was the transport vessel on that. And if you think of communication, like your network, it's all derived from minerals, like our our legit technology. That's why we had quartz watches and things like that. So they are an electrical impulse within the body and out of the body. I think it's like you said, there's folklore behind it, there's information. And I have this, like, you can tell how passionate I am about this. Kings and queens wore crowns, and I think that was medicinal. It kept their immune system up because they wore gold and copper and silver, and they were literally treating themselves by wearing this.
Well, and it's funny because rhodochrosite, being one of my favorite, is the manganese carbonate. It's one of the softest manganeses. And rhodonite feels a little bit like pink granite. But I think that if we look at this in a way that is, we are bringing these baths to people's homes. We're bringing the minerals that I don't live in a high mineral content area. So I would have to
Any of
be.
us anymore, like we're
Well,
also
exactly. But I think that if we look at it like instead of shipping pounds and pounds of salt around, we can ship around 30 ounces. I mean, or like a couple of ounces of ground rock and make it really easy on ourselves. I was at a conference speaking, and this guy, I was just finished. First question. He said, well, why wouldn't we just grind the rocks up and put them in the soil and grow food and then eat the food and make ourselves healthy? And I said, well, that's a lot of work. Why would you do that? I said, it's a lot of work to do that. And you could go relax and just put them on you and not have to go through all those steps. And it was just funny because we are trained to think a certain way, that we're trained to think we have to get this from fruits and vegetables or meats, and we don't. We don't have to. So it's an interesting twist. It is definitely an interesting twist how it can work.
I was trained you're only what you can absorb. And so you could eat well all day long, but if you're not absorbing your nutrition, you're never going to get there.
Well, and our food is only as good as the soil that it's grown in, which is not what I'm saying about over farming. It may have never been there to begin with. I mean, Germany is layers and layers of manganese-based rocks. So their mineral water naturally is going to be high in manganese. So they're one of the largest exporters of these types of rocks. And I feel like that to recognize if you didn't draw the lucky mineral straw where you live, you just didn't. And you just have to kind of go with it. But I take botanicals, I take herbs, and I don't I believe in all the things that we've talked about. I just promote the mineral thing. I just feel like that acupuncture, um, botanicals, herbs all work better if you have put these minerals in because their other properties can then shine. And I think that to recognize that this is not a competition, it's a combination.
It's a
Right.
transition.
It's great synergy to put these things together because botanicals have such unbelievable properties that are struggling if the body's not healthy enough from the minerals to produce. And I think that that's for those who use herbs, I promote that a lot. It's the synergistic of all of this also. So
So Lee's asking, about sulfur. So do you also incorporate sulfur in your topical?
I do not. I do not, and I don't work with sulfur. I'm not against sulfur. It's just not been in my repertoire. And so I guess you can just do so many different thoughts at one time. And I think that to kind of discover some of these other synergies has worked really well for me. And, but I do move into new rocks a lot. A lot of the things I use are fossils, which I find very interesting. It's not so well known in some of the other books that I use. I find them very grounding. They are not consistent on their micronutrients, but their original form is very important to the body. And that gets a little woo-woo, but we can talk about that at some point. But I feel like that, I'm not saying sulfur won't happen in my life, but at this moment it has not.
Yeah, Lee's saying sulfur is really important for connective tissue, which absolutely I agree. And so I've used MSM topically as a treatment too, but I've
Yeah.
never, sulfur is probably a soft yellow stone or
Right.
metal in that regard. So it's an interesting thought. Thank you, Lee, for bringing that to the table.
Thank you.
Very cool. And also iodine. So iodine I use topically. I love iodine topically. I put it on the horses when they're insulin resistant. My whole family has a history of hypothyroid and Hashimoto's, and I'm the only one without it. And so whenever I felt like a little sluggish, I'd do a little betadine scrub on me, let it sit there, and it's like a cup of coffee, and it just snaps you out of it, and you feel amazing. But then I also wondered, when is that toxic level? So can you overdo these minerals? Have you hit a toxicity where you're like,
So I feel like that if anyone was going to be toxic would be me and my guinea pigs. And we go through a lot of minerals. I mean, we go through a lot. But I feel like that the toxicity that we think about is because of these altered minerals in our world. The altered manganese, the altered copper, the altered, all of these things, iron, um, all these names that I can't pronounce that we do to these things that are in my presentation that we're not looking at right now. But I think that I don't know. I don't know. I will say this when I'm at a spa town and I go 2 or 3 times. Three's my limit, 3 days in a row, and you start feeling lethargic, tired, overworked. It's a little bit like I've worked in the yard too long, that kind of thing. I think that people would recognize that. Dogs, of course, when you hold them, all of mine are asleep, or I would do a demonstration. But when you hold them in front of their noses, it looks like they're smelling them. But what they are doing is actually feeling the vibration and making a choice. So if you give them, I try to fool them sometimes, but like I'll let Oscar choose his 2 different joint formulas for the day. And Leo doesn't like to choose, so Oscar chooses for both of them. Sometimes I'll fool him. I'll put a joint formula in like the brain formula just to see what he would do. And he chooses the joint formula. So they know, and it's a great thing. Now, there are days where he walks away and doesn't want anything, which means what? He's
you
had
don't
enough.
need it?
He
Yeah.
doesn't need it that day. And so the dogs are actually easier than the people because people are going to do it repetitively because they've been told to, and whether they think that they need it or not. And the animals, given the right circumstance, are genius. It's amazing. I love watching it. If they don't want it, they walk away. They'll line up for a program in a second, or they don't, which
Well,
is great.
it's interesting because I do Epsom salt rub downs in horses, and I use it dry or wet. It doesn't matter, but I notice when they've had enough magnesium, they get a little tiny bit of dandruff. So they go from coat looking more gorgeous, more shiny, everything looking better, and then just a little hint of dandruff. I'm like, okay, we've hit our toxic level
Yeah.
and give it a break from that point on. But there's clues. There's always clues if you can see them. And I love the fact that you've tried to trick your dog like a shell game. You're like, okay, let's try this.
It's bad. Well, look, education, I mean, it's just the best form of education is there are, they are our teachers. I mean, Oscar's been my teacher. And, but I feel like too, that back to the COVID thing, I cannot stress enough that to anyone that's listening to this or anyone watches this replay, if you've had any of this, even the flu recently, your dog's micronutrients are at zero. They are really at zero. And
Okay, so I have to ask you, is it they actually are catching some version of this virus, or is it us sharing our microbiome?
I think they catch some form of it because I've noticed a little congestion, a little lungy thing, fatigue. Oscar goes into mononucleus sleep. I mean, you should see he just like is out for days. And so I think that they have got some version of it. And once it's over, you need to start heavy dosing the micronutrients again, and they come right out of it. But if you don't, they are going to go into some sort of decline, and it's not going to be, it seems normal because it may be summer and they've got a skin thing. It may be, they sleep a lot, not walking well, aggression, hyper. That's the other thing is someone said, oh, my dog all of a sudden has separation anxiety. I said, that's not all of a sudden, that's his nervous system. You've got to get this in check. So it's a big, and on my website, I talk about it. I don't, have to be careful how much I can talk about it, but it is, it's big. And it's going to lead to more neurodegenerative myelopathies and cancers and that kind of thing because the immune system is compromised in a way that is not natural.
It can't communicate.
No. Well,
And
it can't do
minerals
anything.
are communication
Yeah,
tools.
can't do anything. No protein, no good protein, no communication, nothing. It's just stuck. It's
So,
very,
and you can use these for flea and tick repellents too, right?
yeah, this is how we all found each other. It was Jenny stumbled on our, it's a ancient practice in the Baltics that they used amber for flea and tick and also some amethyst beads, and they would make flea collars. So we tried that, and that didn't work. When you have four, they're pulling on them, whatever. So I just ordered some wonderful amber from Lithuania, and that's where we get it, and we make it with amethyst and a little selenite to keep it from, amber's still sticky. It's resin. So
Yeah.
selenite keeps it from sticking. And so we did that, and we put it on the pugs, on their back of their neck, kind of into their spine. During serious flea season, we use it once or twice a week. After a bath, we replenish it. And Jenny's playing with it, with her felines. And I think that's going pretty well. But it's a flea repellent. It is, of course, they may still get bitten, but the fleas don't like it. And really, if you buy our No Fleas Please, you can use it on the back of your neck and on your wrists for mosquitoes.
For humans.
For humans, thank
For
you.
humans, maybe
Yeah.
horses. Horses don't get fleas, but they get flies and mosquitoes
Yeah.
and ticks.
Yeah. And I'm not really sure how much you would use on a horse. We haven't done that, but that's an interesting thing. And but I love the product. We have a lot of people that have ordered nothing else but that for years. And so I know that it must be working for their dogs or they wouldn't continue to replenish it. So
Order.
I'll email like, don't you want to try some micronutrients for yourself?
So funny. So what is your whole product line? Because you have actually a really big product line. You have a lot of diversity.
Yeah, it's a little bit too big. We try to reduce it. I'm going through a wave with our, if you're a vet or if you're holistic practitioner, you can go to our distributor, which is Golden Needle Online, and their catalog list of our products is a little bit long. I'm trying to reduce it. If you buy something for yourself, you can use it for your animals or vice versa. But we do have it packaged for, some states make us package for both. And so that's why we have so many. Because I'd like to just say, use it, but it doesn't work that way. So
Okay.
we're packaged for both.
So you've got like your allergy, your flea and tick.
Right. We have, we focus, okay, so we focus right now on, we have many joint formulas that work really well, kind of depending on what your needs are. We do have several allergy products. We might phase a couple of those out. Not that they don't work, we're just too broad. I do feel like that right now, if you said you had allergies and you've had the virus or the flu or something, I would say build your immune system up. We do have a great product that is called No Itch. And No Itch is important because it is allergy based with fungal if you have a fungally skin issue or not, but if your immune system is allowing your allergy products, No Itch is where you want to go. So what we do is we say, okay, if you'll get the immunology and do it every day, you can use this as a base for the powder to go onto your skin if you'd like. So it makes it like a little bit like, oh, this is kind of my base product, and I can put allergy on, or I can put No Itch on. I can even put the Vegas products on with that. And I do on my website, I'm not soliciting by any stretch of the imagination. I do have a consultation button. And if you want to do a consult and are interested in that, I do that. And I also give a credit back for what you've paid for the consult to the products, because it just means that I'm getting, it's a full cycle. And I'm happy to do that with people.
That's
It,
awesome. And that makes total sense. How neat is that to see if it's the right fit for
right,
people?
right, right. And I mean, one size doesn't fit all. And I do underdose to begin with, because I feel like that if you get a little bit of this into you, you're going to see what else is wrong or not wrong. And I think that's important, not to say, oh, I've got allergies and I need this, I need that, and do it all at one time. If you start slow and do something a little bit more methodical, I think that the brain product, Brain Gain, is everybody's needs that. It's amazing. I think that if you will do immunology in the morning and replenish at night in aloe, your joints will heal a little bit. You can see what's left. Your allergies will heal a little bit. You can see what's left. And then we can kind of go forward and see, what do we need to dose now? And how do we need to do it? And it's the exact same thing with the dogs. It does not vary. You get it in there and let the body start. Systems will dominate and undominate and rock around for 2-3 weeks, and then we can see what's left.
My dog has a damaged facial nerve, so it affects his eye and his sinus and his ears. So the whole right side of his face, right side of his face is damaged. And so would this help?
Well, I have a client who was unfortunately brutally attacked in a parking lot and with a baseball bat. So she lost all of this, her eye, they rebuilt it, and she had no feeling. And we used a product called Regenerate and the facial Vegas products. And of course, she still does not have her eye, but she has facial movement. And her smile is back, which is just beautiful. I saw her today, and it's just beautiful to see her. And it's not 100%, but you don't notice it like you did. Like, this was entirely unusable, and now it's there working. And so we could regain some of the nerve, I think. Once whatever's left that's not damaged but not working, you can fix. The ones that are damaged, sometimes they can work around it and help it.
Do you put it right on the facial nerve or?
Wherever it's damaged, you just do it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love to try that. What the heck, and I was gonna reach out to you anyway for the flea product. My dog's normally worn the amber collar, but my cat, I'm not gonna put a collar on her.
Yeah.
And she's a barn cat. She's outside all day long. I don't want her to hang up on something.
Well, that's another thing. That's
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that Jenny can report back in 2 or 3 weeks.
Well,
See
and
how it's
Jenny's here on the Zoom, and Jenny, you have some testimony to this. Like, you've already made a lot of observations. You sent me a huge list. Do you want to hop on and share that?
Yeah, do I have to show my face because I'm actually making pills right now? But I'll
Yes,
be
you
happy
have
to
to
share.
show your face. You don't have to show your face.
All right, because well, my hands are tied up. But yes, so I found Ruth's products through the wholesale distributor, and I was on their website because my cats are on some Chinese herbs, and I was just looking up what the purpose of one of the herbs that the vet had my cat on, and Poppy knows this well, but one of my cats has flea allergy dermatitis, and it's just a nightmare. So any website that's alternative, because he also got a head trimmer from Topical flea medication, the chemical kind. I always just search for fleas, and so I found the no fleas please, and I was like, what is this? And last year I had tried the amber collar, but had all those problems because my cats are long-haired cats, and they started ripping out their fur around their neck because it was getting tangled in the amber beads. So I have been using the no fleas please for 10 days, and I was only putting it between his shoulder blades, and um I found a flea on him hopping around his ear. Like it was almost like he was
Avoiding.
still a magnet, but it couldn't get to his skin. So to me, that was a very big win given the absolutely ridiculousness of his magnetism. But I spoke with Ruth last week. We kind of came up with I did kind of like the consultation that she mentioned, and we came up with a battle plan for my cats are 14 and a half years old. So Charlie, the flea magnet, is on replenish twice a day. It is amazing. Charlie also has he's in remission, but he's prone to feline hyperesthesia syndrome, and the replenish just knocks him out. Like he has the hardest sleep. It is so rewarding to see him sleep that hard because there were years where he didn't sleep that hard. And then my cat Trig has some arthritis issues, and so I've used the Regenerate on him, and I swear, like it is so beautiful. Like he's just like, what? I feel better. So
Aw.
I really think that Ruth has something here, and so I was the one that told Poppy about the no fleas please because I was like, Poppy, check this out. How rad is this?
Jenny's my pimp on guest speakers. By the way, Jenny helps me out on booking, and I was gonna order an amber collar. It was actually in the shopping cart, and I stalled on it, and then Jenny reached out, and I was like, isn't that interesting? So yeah, I can't wait to like test this out. And on the shuttering, on your cat shuttering, you're seeing none of that.
Shuddering?
Like the tremors.
Oh, the trimmer. Well, I'm seeing it because of histamine, so I actually just got the itch one today.
Cool.
And I applied it while I've been on this Zoom, so we'll see. But the trees are in bloom. I live in Kansas City. The trees are in bloom here, and he's reacting to that too. But I mean, everything that Ruth said during this, I mean, Ruth, I have so many questions. But anyway, that I transitioned my cats to raw food diet. I've detoxed them. I've, put them through every vitamin, mineral test. And one of my cats like never had an allergy issue. And so all of this makes so much sense. Like he's not had these minerals, he's not getting them through the soil because the soil, anyway. I feel like I'm on a soapbox.
Jenny, you just brought up a really interesting point. Thank you for that. Is the detox aspect. If our detox pathways are actually doing their job, we don't have to detox so much.
That's right. I preach that. I preach it. I didn't really go into it tonight, but our bodies are designed to detox. They know what to do if they have the right nutrients. And I feel like that to take a detox that's just depleting your system because someone told you it was great, it is depleting your system. And to not put these nutrients back in is not going to make anybody healthier when you're doing that. And there are some good that, there I go again. There are some that are out there that are appropriate. But in general, rating your system of nutrients, trying to get rid of bad things is rating your system. And it's
I literally had one of our members reach out to me today and said, I have a sluggish thyroid. I'm doing all this detox for it. And I was like, why are you doing detox for a sluggish thyroid? I was like, do more minerals. You know, like your body's depleted in minerals. I mean, selenium issue. It's the iodine issue. It's just an overall I don't want to say nutritional. What do you call it? Like,
well, I mean, it's a deficiency. It's a deficiency. And I think that we turn a lot of Hashimoto's around with the replenish-based, manganese-based products. We are still left with some thyroid damage issues, but for the most part, the autoimmune aspect of it relieves. And so it's a little more manageable. And I'm not an endocrinologist by any stretch of imagination or thyroid person. So, but I do know that some of the sluggishness is deficiency. And if you will do all of this and then see where you are on the other side, then I mean, that's it, is to start somewhere, replenishing your body, hate to use that word, repleting it, and then see where you are in a month, in 2 months. And then a herbal consultation may be appropriate, a different type of other thing may be appropriate, but it is really important to recognize that the things that are happening in our world are depleting these micronutrients. And their electrophysiological properties, you're not going to get it anywhere else. I mean, you're just not, is the thing.
how do you know your animal is having a sluggish vagus nerve? We
Well,
looked this up the other day in iridology because I want to be able to track it in the iris, and none of us have tracked that before, but we don't even know how to track it.
I'm not, well, I knew Leo's was because he went to sleep on this giant rock like this. And not every dog is going to do that. But I think that I don't know the answer other than they love our Vegas products. And when I put it on them, it may just be that you have to test it. It's almost like muscle testing with them. I
Right.
guess the
Yeah.
whole thing. And our Vegas products we have 3. One is really not appropriate for pets. It's more for PTSD for humans. But our most gentle, and then we have one with just zinc, and then we have one that is the higher end, and it's for when you're really finishing up the healing job. And it's amazing. It is amazing. It's called Neuro Impulse, and it's good for, but you don't want to ever start with that on an injury. You would want to start very gently and then build up to it, because any of those nerves can go haywire also if you over impulse them. So you would want to start with the gentle vagus. I mean, I could do a whole hour thing.
I know. I'm like,
Vegas
oh my
nerves.
gosh, the next
I
question.
know. I could just do, I mean, it's just too much to, yeah. But
I do homeopathy, and I love cuprum for muscle cramping. So I'll use cuprum for equine hind end muscle spasms, and it like pops them right out of it, which is copper.
that's great.
And
That is,
same with zinc. So all the mineral based ones I use on my neurologic horses. I have a large practice working on neurologic courses. And so I do use all the metal homeopathy on that. But now I'm wondering if I should play with this instead or in conjunction with
I
it.
would love to know if a horse's muzzle is like a dog's nose and that they can feel it.
I'm
Just-
sure energetically they can feel, I mean, they
I
feel
mean, they do
Thailand
so
on it,
much.
you know, so
They do so much with their muzzles. I would just think that they could.
it's kind of like their hands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh my goodness. I hope you guys were super blessed with this. I hope your mind is reeling like mine is. And I'm like seizures in dogs, Alzheimer's, dementia,
All of it. All
all
of it. And I can do it, the consult is available for you to talk about your pets too. And then the money back to the products also. And I think it's um, I'm happy to schedule if anyone wants to hop on the website and do that. And I cannot thank Jenny for finding me enough and getting a chance to visit with Poppy. I hope that maybe we can do this again and maybe come up with instead of a broad thing, maybe just come up with a
little more isolated.
little narrow
Targeting.
focus. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love that. You guys, yes, we'll tell your website. People are asking.
It
Get a hold of
is,
you.
it's ohmstateofmind.com. It is OHM stateofmind.com.
And I'm putting it in the chat. Hopefully I did that right. I have a history of giving the wrong link. And I didn't do www before it, so we'll see. At least you guys can see what it is. I just didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll come up with the website, but you guys please reach out.
And if anyone's still listening, is still on here, has not stopped for dinner. If you go into the healing space, it's our blogs, there are some interesting short layman reads about the different micronutrients and some other things, collagen, manganese, that kind of thing, how we treat the neurodegenerative viruses. So if you've had mono, if you have had fibromyalgia, if you've had any of these things, we have turned a lot of them around gently, and it's really great stuff, and I'd love to share it. So just if you need anything, reach out, and hopefully we'll do this again.
Ruth, I could talk to you all day, and I love the fact that you brought up SOD. I don't think we give SOD enough credit.
Ever. So
That-
what we can just look, we can just do an autoimmune or degenerative one sometime and kind of do that. So
Lyme disease.
yep, all that. I
Okay.
don't cure the parasitic part of that, but I get people super healthy so the botanicals can work.
I'm laughing because I tell everybody I think Lyme has a parasite to it. It's not just a bacteria, and everybody thinks I'm crazy. I'm like, no, there's a cofactor of a parasitic nature.
I know, I hate to say it too.
Right on. Well, thank you so much.
All right, thank
have
you all so much for having me, and let's chat again sometime, hopefully. And reach out if you need anything, and I will be available.
Well, I'll
right.
call you the Queen of Rock.
Oh, rock on, sister.
Rock on. You. I guess it's like that.
Exactly.
I don't know. I can't do it. That. Okay. Right on. Take care, you guys. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. We have a dog, canine, feline, first aid, first responder gal next week. So yay.
Yay.
March on,
Thank you
my
so
friend.
much. All right.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Ruth.